share these true stories that I do know wherever I am. I have a nephew whose name is Patrick, and he always jokingly says, "Man, I honestly believe that Aunt Glenda was on the Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman." Well, of course I wasn't, but it's a noble thought. It is my honor to serve as historian of the NAACP Boulder County branch, as well as associate minister and historian for the historic Second Baptist Church of Boulder. Right now, I want to share a few defining moments for me that have brought me to this place. The first is that as a 19-year-old junior at Memphis State University, 53 years ago, wow, I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in what was his last deed on earth. March 28, 1968, folks, carrying a sign that says, "Honor King, end racism." Really? 53 years later, we're still here. It was the I Am a Man March, and we were marching for basic human rights as citizens and workers, for the Memphis sanitation workers, garbage workers, who were treated so inhumanely that they just had deplorable working conditions, no set hours, no set days of work. They could not take breaks. They could not do a lot of things. They could not ride in the cab of the trucks. They had to they had to swing off the back of the truck. And I say that because that particular spring in March January, February, March was, if you know anything about the South, bone-chilling cold. It was sleet. It was just simply very, very cold. Anyhow, we were marching for these basic human rights for the garbage workers as citizens and as workers. The march ended in a riot, and Dr. King was whisked away and taken back to Atlanta because he proclaimed that I only conduct nonviolent marches. 1 week later, Dr. King was, we say assassinated. That's a nice word. That's too nice. He was killed. He was murdered. For you and me, for our rights, on April 4th, 1968. Just 4 days later, on April 8th, I participated in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial March in Memphis. That picture that some of you have seen as you came in the entryway is on the wall of the Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture. It's also at the National Civil Rights Museum, the Withers Museum and Gallery, and the Stax Museum of American Soul Music, all in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown. Now, at the end of that semester, I left Memphis. I was not a good person at that time. I was pretty angry and pretty messed up and just not understanding what in the world was happening to me, because I had these parents who were these devout Christian parents saying, "Love everybody, turn the other cheek." Really? So anyhow, I ended up leaving Memphis at the end of that semester, going to California to visit my sister and her family there. I actually left on a 2 weeks vacation, but that vacation has never ended. So I started a new life in California, working at Long Beach State University for the next 13 years. I'm married, met my husband, married, had a daughter, and then we joined the I've Been Moved company, or IBM. And so we were transferred to Boulder, Colorado. My God, what? I didn't know what happened there. Now about Boulder. I want you to know that Black people of Boulder, many unsung heroes, have lived here. They've raised their families here. They've been educated here. They've made significant contributions to this bustling economy right here. And they died right here. And so we want our families and our friends and the entire beloved community, Dr. King's word, to know that they mattered. Amen? I'm a preacher, so you have to just say amen. Amen. They left an indelible mark here that cannot be denied. And then I was awakened in the middle of the night, and a lot of stuff started rolling around me because I knew personally Dr. Charles Nylon, Mrs. Mildred Nylon. He taught Sunday school right over here at First Baptist Church. It's now Pine Street Baptist Church, I think, for 42 years. I sang at his funeral. I knew Mrs. Nylon personally. I had the privilege of interviewing her in 2013, and I spent a lot of time with her. I knew Penfield Tate II, and now we have the Penfield Tate Municipal Building for the city of Boulder right here. Amen. Yes. And then I knew Ellen Tate. Ellen Tate was his wife. Precious people. These people made a difference, and their lives mattered. My husband passed away in 2013. He made a difference at IBM, and then he left IBM and joined my company. And so we worked together. These were people that I knew, and many more besides. Over the 40 years, people have come and gone. They've lived, they've died, and they flourished here. I'm the proud mother of 2 accomplished adults. They grew up right here in Boulder. My daughter was 6 when we got here, and my son probably was the first black child born at Longmont United Hospital in 1980. But I'm most concerned. I'm the grandmother of 4 also. I have twins who are just entering kindergarten, and then one that's 10, and then a 17-year-old that will be graduating. They live in Atlanta. But I'm gravely concerned that I leave this place much better than I found it. And I want to know that my life here made a difference. And I'm sure you want to know the same. I'm so thrilled that the Museum of Boulder focused on proclaiming Colorado's Black history. We're here, as Adrian said, and we're here to stay. We ain't going nowhere. Congratulations and thank you, Lori and all of your team, for embarking upon this challenge. Just know this, a challenge awaits us. I love Dr. King's phrase when he always said, there will be difficult days ahead. Just know that. But with your help and God's divine assistance, the impossible can become possible. The invisible can become visible, and the unreachable comes within our grasp. Helen Keller once said, and she was blind, together we can do more. Let's do this thing together. It's my honor to introduce to you. I know I took a little more time, but y'all ought to know we invite a Baptist preacher up. You got to give him or her a few more minutes.
Nice.
It's my honor to introduce you to the present, with whom I've had the pleasure of working and whom I greatly admire. She recently received the Rising Star Award from the Boulder Chamber of Commerce. She's beautiful. She's smart, she's dynamic, and she's black. Or better said in an Aretha Franklin song, she is young, gifted, and black.
Nice.
And that's a fact. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring up my friend, Katrina Miller.
Woo-hoo.
Everybody. I'm
so happy you're here. I'm very happy that I'm here and very honored, actually. Glenda, thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's her generation that paved the way for people like me to have equal rights and pursue a quality livelihood in a country where civil liberties have not always been granted for all. When I see Glenda, I think of hope because she reminds me of what is possible if we do the work. I moved to Boulder in the year 2000 to attend CU Boulder. I am a Colorado native, and I came here because at the time it had the best journalism program in Colorado. I came to study journalism, broadcast production, and history. And I experienced what a lot of people have described as culture shock. The town I grew up in was a small military town in Colorado Springs, and it was very diverse. So it was strange for me to not see a rainbow of people when I first arrived here at 18. There also weren't places for me to reference my identity here. Where was the Black history? The places where I could find community and cultivate a sense of pride and connection to where I lived. As a journalism student, I created a documentary my last semester of college called Blacklash. In this documentary, I questioned why there were so few Black people on campus and in Boulder. The answer I gathered is that although this town is considered progressive, it doesn't always feel welcoming to people of color. And the crux of that is that there isn't much celebration of Black presence or achievement in this town. It is not that we need something separate or to elevate us over others. Rather, we just need something. Some platform to express ourselves and some reference to our history here. So 21 years after moving here in present day, I find myself working on another documentary. It's called This Is Not Who We Are. And this project explores Boulder's self-proclaimed identity as a progressive and liberal town and compares that to the actual lived experiences of African Americans here. Me and my team of Landlocked Films had interviewed many Black residents. We talked to Zaid Atkinson, who was assaulted by the police when picking up trash on his campus lawn. We talked to a middle school student who has a legitimate fear of just walking down the street. My goal of this film is to shed light on how racial disparities can get ignored when the majority of the population is white. It is easy to make a blanket statement that Boulder is the happiest place on earth when the majority of people experience it that way. I believe we can do better. That as a city, a country, a state, and a nation, that we can create openness that welcomes and celebrates all people, that does not subject citizens to violence, harassment, or loss of opportunity because of racial bias. As I work on this film, I've heard some things that are difficult to digest. At the top of this is, well, there are no Black people in Boulder, or, well, aren't there just 5 of you? Statements like this bother me so much. Yeah, there's more 5 of us here. Yeah. But statements like this perpetuate the feeling of invisibility that Black people can feel here. Is this to say that you don't see me? You don't see my friends? You don't see the contributions that African Americans have made to structures and spaces and institutions here? Our contributions to education, engineering, business, and art. Another reason for me making this film is to show that we are here and our contributions run deep through history. I've worked at the museum as a video producer for over a decade. And when I was approached about the desire to proclaim Colorado's Black history, the word came to me, finally. Finally, there will be a place for us to reference our identity and contributions to this beautiful state, which we have helped beautify. Finally. everyone can have a more comprehensive understanding of how this community was formed by way of efforts from all people. Even our beloved Pearl Street, the development of that was approved by Penfield Tate, our black mayor. How does that land? Not very many people know that. But it makes me proud, and it should make all of us proud, to look at what we can accomplish when we work together. I'm grateful to the Museum of Boulder for recognizing this and understanding the importance of placing us in history. As I do the work I'm doing now, I often think back at my 18-year-old self, and I wish there was an exhibit like this up the road that I could have gone to. I probably would have lived at it. But it's encouraging to think that this space will soon exist and inspire and uplift generations to come so that we can focus on other larger issues that affect humanity on a global level. Climate change, green energy. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to the future, Miss Wanda James. She is a leader in business and in politics right here in Colorado. And I'm very honored to get to work on this project with another trailblazer that has broken the glass ceiling in her industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Wanda James.